With the economy becoming an issue for many, they are foregoing having children. In fact, soon, retirees will outnumber young people. This is a huge demographics issue at a time when the US literally can't afford this. Who will come to the rescue? You came here for the truth, so let me unveil that for you. Today we're going to look at this very important issue. Let's begin with this. Many families are choosing to have fewer children, or in some cases, no children at all. Before I get into these articles, and I will show you, of course, the statistics, I want to explain the fact that individuals need to make choices that they feel is right. There is no one side that is correct or incorrect. You need to decide things for yourself and what you believe is the right thing to do. But I'm going to show you these statistics so that you're aware. The cost of having children in the US has grown exponentially since the 1960s, when the government first started collecting data on childhood expenditures. Between 2000 and 2010, the cost shot up by 40%. So clearly, it's becoming more and more expensive. As of 2015, American parents spend on average $233,000 on child costs from birth until the age 17, not including college. This number covers everything from housing and food to childcare and transportation costs, and it goes on. You can see the expenditures that people are encountering to be able to care for their children. It's something that only gets worse as the years go on. This has been very apparent since the financial crisis, and this further solidifies my point that we see all of these things, the store closures and everything else, because of the economic factors. They are present despite the fact that they are being covered up. Retirees will outnumber children for the first time in the US history. Think about that. By the year 2035, adults over the age of 65 are expected to outnumber children under 18 for the first time in United States history. It's being attributed to the decline in fertility and aging baby boomers. So you have a double whammy that's going on. What I see here is that individuals who are in this 65 years plus generally would be seen as individuals who need their Social Security, they need their Medicare or Medicaid, they need these social assistance programs, and part of this is because they are retiring or soon to retire. Okay, look at this compared to individuals who are 18, who in the next few years would be moving into the workforce, and they'd be paying into the Ponzi schemes of Social Security and further taxation. But if the individuals who are going into the workforce are declining and more people are leaving the workforce because of their retiring and they expect to get more from these programs, you have yourself a very, very big problem. How will they ever figure this one out? Childcare has become one of the most expensive costs that family bears. In fact, many cities, childcare can cost more than the average rent. This is particularly challenging for low-income families who don't often make more than minimum wage. You will see that here, American families will spend an average $500 to $1,000 per season for children's activities. This is for extracurricular or sports activities for each of their children. So if they have 2 children, you're looking at potentially up to $2,000 per season. So literally thousands and thousands of dollars per year are being spent on these children's programs, whether they're going to different sports or dancing or whatever it might be. These are very expensive things, and of course in line with that, the transportation costs that are involved in this. There's so many people who do tournaments out of the city, so you have to then, get hotels, and you have to spend on food and costs to get there, whether it's a flight or gas for your car or a bus or anything. Okay, these are all costs associated with this, and I think it's important to note this is becoming more and more expensive at a time when ultimately people don't have the money going around. Cost of children. In 2015, a typical middle income American family spent basically $13,000 annually per child. Housing, food, childcare, transportation, healthcare, miscellaneous, and clothes. And obviously, housing is one major issue when you look at, for example, a one-bedroom condominium. If you go from a one-bedroom condominium to a two-bedroom condominium, you increase the price dramatically. If you were to then go to something larger, let's say a three-bedroom household, the cost jumps significantly higher than that. So the housing makes sense because the more people you have in a house, obviously, even if they're children, they still need their own space, they still need their own room, and there are regulations and things. So ultimately, housing costs increase. Food, obviously, that goes without saying, and so on. Burden of childcare costs. Now, by the way, if you go back to this article here, the first one out of Market Watch, you're going to be able to actually put your mouse over top of all of these, and it will actually tell you the percentages, but you can get an idea from this image over here. Childcare is a major cost for many American families. For each child, parents spend 9 to 22% of their total annual income on childcare. 9 to 22%. Just on this one thing. And that's why a lot of people, if they end up having 2 children, maybe 3 or even more children, one of the parents just stays home because it's not worth it. It just doesn't make financial sense to go to work if you're going to have to spend all your money on childcare. So you'll see these different areas, whether it's California, Oregon, New York, anywhere, that the cost of their annual income seems to be, really high in these particular areas. Other areas are much less. So you'll see, for example, Hawaii right here looks like it's more towards the 10% category. You can see for yourself in an area where you live or maybe you're interested in, you could see these different colors representing these different costs that people have. Does that tell you necessarily what the people make in that area, or does it tell you about the costs of those services, or is it really just a mixture of both? Okay. Free time and kids. American adults with young children are less likely than those without to say that they feel that they have enough free time to do the things that they want to do. Clearly, people without young children feel, hey, they got enough time, they can do what they need. People who are employed and they have young children, they don't have time. And that's a fact. If you are a parent yourself, or obviously you see it, you may understand this, that individuals, they work their 9-to-5 jobs, they go to the daycares, they pick up their child, they bring them home, they feed them, they put them to bed, and rinse, repeat. It is a simple matter of fact that the way that this system is built is designed to keep you from all of the important things in life, whatever that means to you. It's done on purpose. That's what people don't understand. If you have a child, I'm sure you want to spend as much time with them as possible. But this system, the whole 9-to-5, the rat race, and the way the economy is being purposely notched further and further down, means that you have to work more and more and more, means you don't get to enjoy the things that you really want to be doing. Big problems. Now, this is something you should definitely check out. Every state, you can click on it out of Economic Policy Institute, okay? I'll try to do this right now. You can actually click and scroll through here, choosing your state. So I just picked California. I know a lot of my subscribers are from California. And then you can see how much childcare is there. They give you all the numbers. They give you everything. The average annual cost of infant care in California is nearly $12,000. That's $1,000 a month. Huge. And so you can see it for yourself. I'm not going to cover it all. I don't want you to fall asleep here, but you can see that different college and housing and how much childcare is, and all the stats are all available for you here. Links, of course, are in the description, but essentially it's epi.org, and you should be able to grab it from there. So looking at all of this, what have we learned? Clearly, number one is that childcare is expensive, is that having children is expensive. But so is buying a vehicle, so is buying a house, so is everything else these days. Everything is expensive. Does that mean that you shouldn't do something because it's expensive? No, it's what you value most. But I want to cover not a motivational speech or something. I'm looking at this from a financial view, and I want to basically suggest to everybody that all of these things are so expensive today for no good reason. The services that we get, whatever that might be, are no better today than they were previously, let's say 40, 30 years ago. Sure, there's been some improvements, but there's been a lot of declines in other areas too. The way I look at it is you pay more for something and you get less. Oftentimes that really is the case. Think about, people before my generation talk about how they would go to a particular restaurant, fast food restaurant typically, and the sandwiches just continue to get smaller and smaller and smaller, and yet the price of them just continues to increase. Very typical. Or you go get, let's say, like a bag of chips or something. That bag of chips has been the same bag of chips probably for 30 years, same size, but the contents within that have decreased. And that's a simple way of looking at it, but I see this extending out into everything. We pay more to get our roads fixed, but there's more potholes on the road. We pay more for those roads, and they keep putting more tolls up on these roads. It seems like we're always getting the short end of the stick, and I'm really, really sick and tired of it. So that's all for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Something a little different, but ultimately tried to bring it back around to the Money GPS. I hope that you found it interesting. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. And last but not least, if you found this video informative, I know that you will find my books, The Money GPS, even more informative. You can actually flip through these books. All you got to do is go over to Amazon, flip through The Money GPS or Global Economic Collapse. The links are in the description of this video. Take care.